So yesterday I got this email from somebody who wants to rent. I have an apartment that I rent through upstairs that I rent through Airbnb. And I get this notice from Airbnb that somebody wants to make a reservation. So I go and I read the reservation. It's from some guy. And it actually never occurred to me that a guy would want to rent the apartment. Usually it's couples or women and single women or women who are in a couple. And I thought about that. And he mentioned two things. One was that he'd already sent me a notice on Facebook because I had advertised it there, which I'm now beginning to regret. I think I'm gonna take it down. Um, and that, could I do something better for him on the price? He was coming to the area to look for something to rent, and maybe, he would rent from me. I thought that was interesting since he'd never met me. So I wrote back on through Airbnb that I'd actually already applied the discount, and I was declining the reservation. So I go to, but on Facebook I write him a little note and say, here are 3 other people that you might find the price you want, because he said he is on a fixed income. And, he wanted me to work with him on the price. The prices are already very, very reasonable. So I said to him, a motel I knew about, a woman who does property management who has houses, and a woman who's looking for somebody to rent her place. And she only wants $500 a month, which is a very good deal for a place at the beach. He wrote me back, thank you, and that was that. I thought. Well, Airbnb keeps writing me notes. Hey, you've got to answer. You have to answer. I thought I already did answer. But I sort of ignore it till this morning when I open my Facebook account and I see he's written me another note and said, oh, I see there's a price difference. You said one price here, but now it's actually lower, and I'm curious about that. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm curious too. So I went to Airbnb and looked up the rules because I was already thinking, this guy wants a discount. He's a single guy. I've given him 3 referrals that are more in his price range. What is he bothering me for? And I had, anyway, it turns out that the rules of Airbnb, not to mention the rules of Mexico, but the rules of Airbnb are this. You can turn somebody down for gender if you have a shared space. And although the apartment is upstairs and private, we share an entry. So I wrote that again, since the first time they seemed to ignore that I declined it, I was declining on the basis that he was a single male and I was a female and we shared spaces. Decline. And I didn't go into, this is Mexico. They actually don't have discrimination laws here. If you have private property, I don't know, maybe if for public housing they do, but if you have private property, you can just rent to whoever you want to rent to. So it made me think about this. I changed also my listing to only 4 days because I do use the upstairs sometimes. It's clean. It's ready for rental, but I don't have a full kitchen downstairs, for instance. I like to go upstairs. And I also thought about, recently there was a story, I think it was in New York Magazine, the New Yorker picked it up, about some guy who had been moving in with women and basically tormenting them, threatening them, taking over their house. And the laws in the United States are very, very liberal towards renter. Most of them. I'm really talking about California, really liberal in California. And you don't want to make any mistakes because you don't want to wind up losing your house or having to pay the tenant some sort of penalty because they've been offended by. And I actually had to sell a property in the United States because I had a tenant who moved in like 2 months after I moved out. And 2 months in, because she said, oh, I have mold. And I went, oh no, the mold word. It's the last word you want to hear when you have a property. Mold! I go, oh no. And, all I can say is that I didn't have mold when I lived there. But 2 months later, she sent me pictures of her sweaters with mold on it. And then she said she used to be some sort of inspector for property and I needed to get somebody in. And I went, I live in Mexico. I live in Mexico. I don't want to deal with this stuff. And I put the house up for sale, the condo up for sale. And it sold like in 24 hours. There were like 4 offers on it. Now, I would have made more money, like $100,000 more if she had lived out her lease there. But, I've made this choice before. I don't care that much about money. I care about peace of mind and freedom. And I certainly would have been richer if I cared about money. I have enough. I believe in that, by the way. I believe that we do have enough at a point in our lives. Some people don't have enough. I'm not going to speak for them. I'm talking about the kinds of people I know who've had careers who basically have enough and who yet seem. I know somebody who made $5 million, and when I knew him, he was broke. We were both broke. We were like sharing food over at like a Denny's or something. And he used to say, boy, if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, I'd be like, well, you know what? The last time I spoke to him, which was a good 15 or 20 years ago, he had over $5 million. He'd been very, very successful creating a TV series. And it still wasn't enough. So I really, at some young age, understood that money was like a symbol. After a certain point, it's a symbol. And that in some places, it's a disease. I think people like the Koch brothers, they have a disease. They've got the money disease. It's an addiction. And there are a lot of people like that. And they're in all over the world. They're not just in the United States. Anyway, that's my little story today. And I'm so happy. I have a little dog. When somebody starts nagging me about wanting to rent my place, I go, there's a lot of places to rent. They don't need my place. Bye. Love ya. Talk to you soon.